moves?
Yeah, playing time. Feel like right now we got to a point where we need to get him going. We need to get him some everyday at bats. And when Jakowski being here, we feel like we kind of have that pinch runner off the bench for potentially move late in games. But it just came down to get him going and getting some playing time.
What's the plan for Vientos now?
So Vientos is going to play 9 innings at third base tomorrow in Syracuse, and then they got a day game the following day. Most likely he'll DH, and then we'll see where we are. But he's feeling better, so it's just more like getting the volume up now.
Bruce?
Carlos, do you have any message to your ball club when you're going through a stretch like this and you're struggling and trying to find your way a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, we're always having these discussions, we got a lot of wave of delivering messaging, whether it's a one-on-one conversations, hitters meetings, group sessions, message is you have to keep working. You have to find a way to get the job done, This is about the results on the field, but at the same time understanding that every team's going to go through it, and there's always going to be adversity, and we have to find a way to get through it, and we will. A lot of good players in that room, and it's not the first time we face adversity. We've been there before, and we found a way, and we will do it again this year.
27-10 at home. What does it mean to be back here to have a chance to get something going?
Yeah, it's always special to come back home, play in front of our fan base. We know, they're into it, and we feed off that. So. Important 4 games here against the Braves. We just saw them, obviously, and we didn't get the results we wanted to. We got to be ready to go, but it's always good to be back home.
Howie?
Carlos, what is the fine line that you have to find or determine between normal preparation and maybe more meetings or extra analysis because of the rough stretch you've been going through? What's the balance between potentially having that become overload and maybe pulling back and doing less?
Yeah, I think that's why it's important to not only get a good pulse of that clubhouse and check the temperature of the guys, but getting to know the guys individually and as a group as well. There's so much about meetings and things like that. You got to go out there and play the game. You got to go out there and execute. And as the normal schedules of 162, we have hitters meetings every day. We got pitchers and catchers meetings. So I think it's just more like one-on-one conversations, going back to the video room as coaching staff, and how can we continue to help these guys get through this, and we will. So I think it's just more coaches doing their part, me as the manager doing my part, and, continue to push these guys, and, we continue to have faith. And at the end of the day, we got to go out there and we got to get the job done, and we will.
Peter?
Just how do you navigate the heat wave? Do you guys do anything differently pregame or during the game just to kind of navigate it?
Yeah, a little bit of a later report today. Probably shorter rounds of BP and things like that. I know our group, will continue to provide information, education to the players as far as staying hydrated and things like that. It's part of the year now where you're gonna be playing under weather like this. So we'll act accordingly, and we'll have the guys ready to go.
And then we spoke to Senga today, and he said he's feeling pretty well. Just what's kind of the plan for his progression from here on out?
Yeah, the good thing is he kept throwing, even right after the injury. So he's able to keep the arm going. And I was told that he was going to play catch off the mound, not necessarily a bullpen, but the fact he's already getting on the mound and letting the ball go with some type of intensity, that's a really good sign. Then we'll see what the next step will be. But like I said, it's not even 2 weeks now, and he's already getting on the mound and playing catch with intensity. That's good.
Tony?
Just talking to Frankie Montas in there, he sounded very confident that whatever issues he had in the minors are not going to show up tomorrow. What are your realistic expectations as to what he can do, especially the first time out there?
Yeah, that he's the guy that when we signed him in the offseason, that he was going to be a big part of this rotation. We saw, I remember watching, and that's what I was telling him when we were playing the wild card, the playoff series. When we faced him, he was pretty nasty with the way the ball was coming out, the way he was using all of his pitches. And I've seen him pitch for a lot of years at this level and have success. So the expectations is to go out there, compete, and give us a chance to win a baseball game every time he takes the ball, starting tomorrow.
Separately, just what do you know about LuvLady, and how do you plan to use him, incorporate him?
Yeah, this is a guy that I've seen him pitch, especially when he was with the Royals. Lefty, kind of like low slot, the sinker, the slider. Now he's got a sweeper too. Tough left on left, and he just add another weapon there, another lefty out of the bullpen that we can continue to mix and match.
Jerry.
Carlos, when you look at Francisco Alvarez, obviously struggling a little bit, how much of that do you think ties into the two-way nature of his job? Because obviously the catcher is probably the hardest job on the field, right? And doing it at a young age. When you look at how he struggled, does that play any role in it to you?
It's hard for me to say yes, but we also know how demanding that position is and how much they have on their plates. It's not only the offense, but the defense, and the preparation, the scouting reports, hitter by hitter. And then not only that, but in games, making adjustments and calling pitches. It's 180 decisions he's got to make, to a 200. Plus on top of that, the offense is a lot. But this is a guy that's shown that his leadership ability, his ability to lead a pitching staff, that's what makes this guy who he is. So, but when you're struggling, he can add a little bit because of the position. But I'm not sure that that's the case here with Albi because, again, he's pretty talented. And that's part of his, one of his strength there.
Mike.
Just along the lines of LuvLady, just having that second lefty in the bullpen, you haven't had that too much this year. What kind of balance do you think that helps bring?
Yeah, look, but we also feel good with the righties that we got in the bullpen that are able to navigate some lefties, whether it's a Rick Garrett, a Brasoban, a Stanek. But when you're facing a team where they have some lefties off the bench, you kind of making decisions whether you got to put it on their heads, and it allows you to be a little bit more aggressive in the middle innings. In the fifth or sixth, knowing that if those lefties come back in the eighth, you still got another one if that's the case. So, but again, I think we also feel comfortable with the righties that we got there.
John.
For years, the Braves have done well against the Mets. Way before you got here, obviously they've had good teams, but even this year, when they have a losing record, they won the games out in Atlanta. Is there anything particular beyond the fact that they have good teams that you could see in the matchup why they've done well against the Mets?
Yeah, they're good, but we also clinched a playoff spot at their place last year. It's good memories there. So they're good, we're good, and everybody knew going into this season that NL East is a beast, because of the Braves, because of the Mets, because of the Phillies, So, they've dealt with a lot of injuries, but they got a lot of star power there too. So, yeah, we got 4 games here at home, and we got to take care of business.
Andrew.
Going back to Acuna, I guess how would you assess his playing time here, over the first half of the season, and what do you want to see from him, maybe particularly offensively down at AAA? Yeah,
look, he had a really good April, right, where he was getting consistent playing time, and he helped us win a lot of baseball games. And then, I think it was a combination, obviously, some of the other guys producing, and then he became kind of like that role guy that helped us win a lot of baseball games with the defensive versatility, with the way he ran the bases. He was impacting it, but he got to a point now where, it's getting very difficult to get him some playing time. And for his development and where we are in the regular season, what we want to see is for him to get at bats, play every day, because it's hard for me to judge him right now, or all of us in here as an organization. You don't play for a week, and then before you know it, you're facing a pretty tough lefty like yesterday. It's hard understanding that he's young and he's still developing. So I think it's just more of getting everyday reps.
Dave.
Carlos, I think the past 10 days was probably the toughest stretch for your pitching staff as a whole that had pitched so well. Do you think that it was going to come to that because of the bullpen usage and the injuries that you had had? Were you guys anticipating that there was going to come a little bit of a tipping point there as you're trying to get guys back and you're a little stuck in the middle.
Yeah, you always know you're going to face some type of adversity. In this case, it happened quick. We lost two very, Seng and McGill. And then on top of that, a couple of the guys, 2 times through, seems like they struggle, But it happens, man. But we're too talented. We still believe on those guys, and we'll get right back on track. But it's part of the season, obviously, and when your starters are not giving you not only length but quality innings, then your bullpen's going to get exposed. There's days where you're pitching high leverage guys in a game where you're trailing, you're down 4 or 5, and that's not ideal because now it affects the next day, it affects the whole series. But again, every team goes through it. We're going through it right now, and we got to find a way to get the job done.
Gary?
When you send a veteran position player out on rehab, generally they call the shots about, when they're ready. Does Vientos get that benefit of the doubt, or do you need to see quality of at-bats from him on rehab in order to say that he's ready?
Yeah, look, out of respect, we're always asking for feedback too. Like, how are you feeling? Not only physically, but how you're recovering after playing 9 innings, how you're seeing the ball. I think we leave it. Whether you're a veteran or a guy like Mark, who's continued to looking for ways to establish at this level, we'll ask him. But if we feel like, hey man, maybe couple of extra games here, so you can get your time in. Not only you're dealing with the hamstring, who's a tricky injury, So I think there's a lot of back and forth here. But obviously, we'll ask his opinions as well before we make the final call.
Very good. Thank you, Carlos.